Question one, what are your opinions about Donald Trump?
Well, he's an asshole. I hate him. He's terrible. He is the worst demagogue we could have gotten right now. He lies. He'll say whatever the public in our stupid electorate will buy it. No one has memory. Whatever he says that instant, what's in his head, he doesn't think beyond. He has no plan. If you follow him from day one, not even in politics, you go back to the beginning of his career.
Donald Trump announced his campaign for the 2016 election on June 16, 2015. His policies towards American immigrants, Muslim Americans, and the movement of Black Lives Matter are controversial topics of his campaign, surrounded by the slogan, "Make America Great Again." This slogan appears at rallies and on the news as Trump takes the stage. It even gains free advertisement as his followers wear it to show their support. How is Donald Trump different from the rest of the Republican Party?
Because he's not part of the establishment, and I think that he's not really held by any lobbyists or super PACs, and in that he's pretty similar to Bernie Sanders because they don't take money from their supporters, and they're all self-funded or from other causes. So I feel like he's able to say what he believes instead of having people tell him what to say.
So, how did this all happen?
The Republican Party got to the point where they had vilified Obama and the Democrats so much that if they decided that they were going to agree with the president on anything, or the Democrats on anything, compromise at all, they get the religious right. The base would get so riled up, they'd vote these people out. So you had long-term Republicans that were kind of sane. Maybe they had different ideas, and they kind of went along. They rode that wave of the right wing, moral majority, whatever you want to call it, religious right, with a kind of wink to it. But they were really reasonable people to some extent. They're run out because they want to compromise. They actually wanted government to work. And little by little, the Republicans became more and more people that were there were obstructionists, say no to anything. Nothing gets completed unless it's some false thing like a Patriot Act or Freedom this or some Orwellian title. They took over the party.
As political and social changes occur, its critics arise to halt the changes that cause problems for them. With liberal changes, such as Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal, or the movement of civil rights and anti-war, conservatives on the other end tried to maintain tradition.
Define modern conservatism.
Ooh. Well, characterized by a belief that government is not the answer. That smaller is better when it comes to the government. That regulation is inherently evil and must be used only sparingly where absolutely necessary. And that reliance upon the charitable work of good people will be sufficient to take care of the needs of those in need.
Barry Goldwater and George Wallace did not gain enough popular momentum to go through with their policies. Liberal policies attempted to counteract these growing movements, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1957 and Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. Lyndon B. Johnson's legislations for the War on Poverty and other acts of the Great Society would dominate politics. However, the photos and videos being sent home from the Vietnam War plagued Johnson's reputation. A slur of anti-war, conservative presidents appeared who cut down on foreign affairs. President Nixon's conservative views counteracted Johnson's liberal campaigns. His stance on segregation and the Watergate scandal eroded the federal government's power over political and social issues. With the decline of public trust for the government, the rise of Ronald Reagan marked the peak of the conservative movement.
Reagan is looked upon by Republicans as some sort of deity. They give him credit for ending the Cold War. It happened to come to an end on his watch, but it was half a century old almost by then, and he didn't have a hell of a lot to do with it. He was very provocative. He played a lot of brinksmanship. He labeled people evil empires and things like that. So he was pushed in terms of his statements, but I don't think he had anything to do with the collapse of the Soviet Union under its own weight and its own internal problems. But he gets credit for that, and everyone looks at him as, a great standard bearer.
Now, after a string of presidents who did not match up to Reagan's work, the 2016's presumptive Republican nominee feeds on anxiety and anger, rather than seeking traditional policies. The support of Trump shows how far the Republican Party has parted from its original ideals.
Okay. W, I think had warped values. Certainly didn't match mine. Strange notions that America should flex its muscles just because it had them, and willingness to lie to the public to get us into wars that were unnecessary. And those things really distress me. But I really think he believed what he was doing was right. I'm not convinced that Trump believes anything he says.
He channels those who fear what they do not understand, and gained a following who agreed to his every beck and call, no matter how illogical his policies will be. His policies about Mexican immigrants and building a wall on the southern border is drastically different from Reagan's original approach.
So Reagan, but here's what Reagan would do. Reagan understood compromise, and he worked with the Democratic Congress. And they didn't shut him down, he didn't shut them down. Reagan welcomed immigrants. He's the one who said, Mexicans, come on in, we need you. We need you, we have fields, totally different kind of guy. Reagan, if you take him and put him in this last campaign, he couldn't have run. He would have been, they would have called him, he's even as liberal as a Democrat in a lot of ways, because he would have said, he would be pro-immigration. He would have been compromising with Congress. Like everything that the teabaggers hate and these religious right that they created hate, they would have hated Reagan. So it has changed because of the reason I said.
What seems to be most dangerous about Trump are those who are willing to follow him. Their approach to Muslim Americans is to make them all scapegoats. Their distorted stance on Black Lives Matter became All Lives Matter, trying to promote the belief that racism and other forms of segregation no longer exist. Trump is promoting violence. Rather than go back on traditional views, Trump has extended to the extremes, fueling his campaign on hate rather than ideas. He uses antiquated feelings over mundane issues to appeal to those who are willing to sacrifice others as a way to get what they want. What Trump is doing is not making America great again. It's making a selected minority who will never be satisfied happy-ish. But that minority will soon disappear, and from their fall will rise a new generation of leaders who will actually make change. We will accept women in STEM. We will prove that voting is a constitutional right for everyone. We will show that marriage equality is a basic human right. We will understand that some people are not as well off as others, but it is not our job to push them down or shove them aside. It is our job to rise up with them. We will not be afraid of change. We will not belittle those who seem strange and who, for some reason, make us feel inferior. We will compromise for others, not sacrifice them. And though it is sometimes difficult to accept the things we do not understand, the way we work through our differences together is what will truly make America great again.